Time to talk about the Steam Deck's obsolescence.
Want new Steam Deck hardware already.
We're in this weird space with the Steam Deck. It's over a year old now, and many of us are happily enjoying a little handheld PC. But there's a vocal growing minority. People that believe the Steam Deck is already or will be quickly outdated and obsolete. Did Valve lie to us? They've stated that the Steam Deck is an RDNA powerhouse that delivers more than enough performance to run the latest AAA games. Run? Possibly, but how? That's the question. Furthermore, Valve has stated that it's focusing on a fixed performance target.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Meaning they won't be releasing another Steam Deck till at least 2025, which to me personally is a relief. Since I love my little Steam Deck. According to Valve, everything's great. So, how does AAA gaming on the Steam Deck look right now? And more importantly, does the Steam Deck have a future with regards to AAA gaming? Or should I just look for another gaming laptop right now? And lastly, should you play AAA games on the Steam Deck regardless of the concessions you have to make to get it to run? Or is it better to just play it on a dedicated desktop? Figure all this out. We have to deep dive in some of 2023's largest AAA games. But before we do all that, first, the age-old question, does it run Crysis? Yes, it does. But I can't get it to work. At the time of writing, the most recently released AAA game, and critically acclaimed at that. This is one that I would love to play on a Steam Deck. Nicely curled up with this creepy game on the couch. Luckily, better and brighter people have succeeded where I failed. As you can see, it runs. But at what cost? Because it's not my footage, I'm not going to speculate and debate too much, but it doesn't look pretty. Now check out this awesome graph. This is showing the game by month in 2023 and performance/compatibility rate. It'll be interesting to see if the game starts being less compatible further along in 2023. This doesn't run at all on the Steam Deck. It's basically a health risk. Here, let me show you. The flickering in this game is almost unbearable. But I did a bit of research on the interwebs, but I didn't see any solution. From the little I was able to run and record, the frame rate did seem decently stable. But that was only the intro of the game, so who knows what happens later. Yeah, this is a bit of a bummer. It could have been a fun game.
The Cones of Dunshire, a brand new gaming experience. 8 to 12 players. 2 wizards.
Oh boy.
I've been playing this game for hours on my Steam Deck without any real complaints. There's frame rate dips every once in a while when there's a lot of stuff going on, but in general this is very playable and it looks very good, I think. I have heard that this game gets sluggish in the third act, but I haven't been able to test this yet. Also, side note, this game is amazing! But man, I just haven't had enough time to put into this yet. It is just so massive. I'd call this a win for the Steam Deck, even with its flaws and potential sluggishness in the later game. One of my favorites this year, and it's been a big year, so that says something. A remake of the absolute classic that was Resident Evil 4. Out of the gate, this game was optimized for the Steam Deck and had the Valve verified checkmark. ProtonDB community seemed to agree. And this game looks great too, with a solid 30 frames per second, without much in the way of graphical concessions. I played this game all the way through on the Steam Deck and I loved it. Absolute recommendation on the deck. This one has quite the checkered past. It started off almost unplayable, which says a lot coming from someone who has no problems playing Returnal on the Steam Deck and has gone through quite the redemption arc though, and went from the dreaded unplayable stand to Valve verified. And indeed, if we look at some footage now, this game has done an almost complete 180 now. It looks very decent now, with decent frame rates and nice looking graphics. You can say what you will, but when Sony brings a game to PC, they do generally tend to optimize it well. This one being a surprise and exception when it came out. So far it's pretty even. 2 to 3 on the tally. Next up is Remnant 2. This game's only gonna be for patient people. Why do I say that? Not because it's such a cerebral experience, but after all the loading screens, shader buildings and hiccups, it took me literally 20 minutes to get into the game. Once I get in, it seems to be running pretty decently. Medium settings with FSR on performance mode gives an FPS above 30 frames. Doesn't look great, but very playable. That is to say, the first half hour of the game is. I haven't got much further yet. I got this game just for this video. The Valve rating is not supported, but the ProtonDB community seems to think otherwise. They've rated this gold. I'll let you be the judge with all this amazing footage I've been shown. Total crap fest, this one. I played this game for about 2 or 3 hours, and me, in my full hardiness, was ignoring everybody on the internet telling me that this wasn't playable on the Steam Deck. Yes, there was some drops and hiccups, but this was totally playable, and it looked pretty good to boot. What were they talking about? I was about to be sorely disappointed. I was all settled in to kick the Empire's ass and send them back. That was until I landed on Kobo, a little while into the game. I stepped cheerily out of my plane. That doesn't run as well as it should. Probably just some loading coming into the new level or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. But things didn't clear up. In fact, I had to skip the first cutscene, as this didn't even run closely to how it was supposed to be. Desynchronized audio, hiccups, all the stuff nightmares are made of. Also, you might have noticed I don't have very good footage of this game. That's mostly because it kept crashing as I was trying to record it. So this is all I have. Sadly, a no-go on the Steam Deck as it stands now. Disappointed from Sony's previous release, The Last of Us, that we talked about earlier. I wasn't gonna hold my breath on this one, especially because this was designed for the PS5 system, planted for its incredible loading times, or lack thereof. So I was skeptical on how this would run on the Steam Deck. The game released, and it had in fact a Valve verified checkmark. Surely it cannot be. What kind of witchcraft and wizardry is this, sir? Me, being the sucker I am, had already bought this game well before checking all this. Come hell or high water, I was gonna play this on my Steam Deck. Because, like I said, I'm a sucker. And to my surprise, it runs amazing. Yes, there are load times and they're quite a bit longer than the PS5, but the graphics and frame rate look really good, especially on the smaller screen of the Steam Deck. I can't even imagine how this game would look on a nice OLED screen. But man, this game is fine. If Sons of the Forest was a movie, I imagine it would be this.
I can't breathe. Sarah, you have to calm down. Okay, move now! This is not good, guys. I saw someone. No, you heard something and you saw what you wanted to see. Please! Is there anybody there?
I was a big fan of the original game, and I really wanted Sons of the Forest to run well on Steam Deck, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards. In its defense, the game is currently in early access, and the story might change stuff. But currently, besides not being very well optimized, think frame rate drops and hang-ups even at the lower settings, besides that I seem to have a lot of crashes. And not just simple, oh, I'll restart the game kind of crashes, but hard Steam Deck reboot crashes. So often, in fact, that I couldn't get proper footage of the game. As it stands, this one falls in the don't run this on the Steam Deck under any circumstance category, similar to Forespoken. This is one of the first games I did a video on for this channel. In fact, I did a little performance review, and looking back on that, I pretty much stand by what I said. This game doesn't run perfect, it often drops down to 25, 26 frames per second, and it has the occasional hiccup in combat. And then there's of course the graphics. They're not the best, especially looking at the PS5 version. We're talking low settings. But hey, it runs. And as I said then, my tolerance to hiccups, slowdown and the like is pretty high. I call this a go on the Steam Deck. But as with many of these games on the Steam Deck, your mileage will vary. Hey Alexa, can you check the weather for me please?
You are not welcomed here. Remove yourself. I rule here. Insect.
This is a fun, although fun might not be the word, little title that many people forgot about or skipped over altogether. And in some people's books, it might not even be a AAA game. But if not that, it's at least a AA. Once again, what humanity's last hope is for trying to take down the super creepy rogue AI Shodan. It's great. It runs well on the Steam Deck and it's verified. And I believe you can almost run on max settings and get close to 60 frames per second. Now that's a good Steam Deck. This one needs a little introduction. As it stands, it's been debated to death already. To summarize, depending on the planet or situation we're in, we get drops down to 25, 26 frames per second. But when we're inside, depending on the settings, we get frames all the way up to 40 frames per second. Hoo boy. And to be honest, it doesn't look half bad. I think it runs well enough on the Steam Deck to get a pass. If you want to know more about Starfield on the Steam Deck, check out my performance review from a couple of months ago. A lot of people hated on this game, and I honestly can't even exactly remember why. I played it for a little while, but it was a bit too bland for me. Having said that, it's a verified game that runs decently. Although, when you get in the outside areas, there is noticeable slowdown, especially if you move quickly from area to area. But in combat and at times of trial and tribulation, the game runs well enough. And as is the case with many of these games, of course handing in some graphical fidelity for performance. But overall, a solid game on the Steam Deck. Probably also not considered a AAA game technically, but this came out recently and fits the parameters quite nicely. Also, this runs like a dream, and the Steam Deck could use a little win. You play as this kind of robot ninja, and you basically hack everybody to shreds with your sweet-ass samurai sword. I haven't gotten very far yet, as you can probably tell. It all looks really smooth, cool, and flashy. I love it. And check this out, great graphics and decent frame rate. What more could we possibly want? I mean, robot ninjas with samurai swords? Come on. Let's look at another big release, also early on in the year. Dead Space, another remake of an awesome classic. I absolutely adore this game. I didn't just play it through once, but right after I finished, I restarted the whole thing on a harder difficulty, and then I didn't finish it because I got too hard.
Boom, roasted.
But still, my point stands. It's an awesome game. This game looks and runs great. Solid 30 frames per second, settings on high, and FSR set the quality. You can even hit 40 to 50 frames per second if you run uncapped at low settings. Total goodness on the Steam Deck. I'd argue playing it on the Steam Deck over a regular PC because of the mobility, but I'm biased. Lastly, another big recent release, or that is a DLC of one. The original Cyberpunk was verified and ran well on the deck. The expansion, Phantom Liberty, is a bit more demanding. It even gives you a warning before installing and it needs a solid-state drive to run properly. I did do a little Cyberpunk deep dive last month, and in short, it runs well enough. Dogtown is definitely a bit rough around the edges, lots of dips down to 25-26 frames per second, especially when driving, but this game still looks amazing and plays well enough. For me, anyway. I just love the story in this game, and adding Idris Elba has made it so much better. Alright, after all that, let's see if we can answer the questions we stated in the beginning. 1. Does the Steam Deck have a future with regards to AAA gaming? 2. Should you play AAA games on the Steam Deck regardless of the concessions you have to make? And 3. Did Valve lie to us? Those two questions go hand in hand. Let's take a gander at our handy chart. Obviously, this is not a great representation of what's really going on. It does show that the Steam Deck is still plenty capable to run many of the AAA games that are coming out. I was worried we were going to see a downward trend towards the later end of 2023. But with the games I looked at, that doesn't really seem to be the case. But there are some caveats.
What?
Most of these games need some time to be properly optimized for the Steam Deck before they actually perform well. The Last of Us that we looked at being a perfect example, looking absolutely atrocious when it came out.
What the hell is even that?
But now, a little while later, Steam Deck verified. Day-and-day releases are rarely great for the Steam Deck, and they get me with this every time. And looking at you, Alan Wake, you need to be willing to put up with some fidelity and frame rate reductions. As mobile gamers, and I don't mean phone gamers, I think most of us understand this. For me, personally, the concept of running these amazing console games on the go is just so cool. So I'm willing to put up with a lot. But everybody's threshold is going to be different. For example, I'm fine with Returnal the way it is, but I think most people aren't. All in all, the hardware is still amazing and capable of a lot, especially with some optimizations from Valve. The Steam Deck is an awesome device that I'd recommend to anybody who's looking for a mobile gaming device. And that pretty much answers the last question. Did Valve lie to us? Nah, I just clickbaited you guys into listening to me rant on how awesome the Steam Deck is. But to really unlock the Steam Deck's full potential, check out this video. Other than that, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.